An easy-to-understand explanation of Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism. What is Theravada Buddhism? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. What are Theravada, Mahayana, Pure Land, Zen, Vajrayana, and other different concepts? There's a saying that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Therefore, the question that needs to be raised is, when and where do we start our journey on the spiritual path? Most of us start searching for our spiritual path quite late because we do not feel the need for spirituality when we are young. The common belief is that temples cannot solve the worries and sufferings of youth, and that temples are meant for the elderly to accumulate merit by engaging in charitable acts, offering services, etc., to ensure good fortune in the future. If you have set foot on that spiritual path, then it is essential to thoroughly understand the path you are walking on. Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, long ago discovered a unique path that helps us eliminate all suffering and find true freedom. After discovering this path, the Buddha, who was then still very young, dedicated the rest of his final human life to showing us that path, pointing the way with his own finger. Today, we are those who practice by following the Buddha's finger and walking in his footprints, clearly marked on that path. We are not unlike a group of people walking together on a path, a group that is incredibly diverse, differing in many aspects such as age, health, culture, and level of understanding. Some walk calmly and quietly, while others are busy helping and guiding others, even offering their own backs to carry the weak. Still, others prefer to stand at bus stops, waiting to be picked up. This does not even include the pushing, pickpocketing, or deceiving that sometimes occurs. Moreover, there are many who do not look in the direction pointed out by the Buddha, but instead search for lost or discarded belongings of others, only to pick them up, carry them on their backs, or balance them on their heads, stumbling as they walk. Additionally, there are also groups of people walking in the opposite direction, and we must step aside to avoid colliding with them. Looking to the sides of the road, we also see many chaotic scenes. Markets, shops, theaters, gambling houses, as well as scenes of deception, stabbing, shooting, explosions, fires, collapsed bridges, etc. Some people stop to watch these scenes while others still wish to join in. In this video, let us take a step back and sketch out a simple image of the path with the group of people trudging along it, to help each of us find ourselves on that path and choose the best way to move forward. When the Buddha was still alive, he taught the path to everyone according to their different levels of understanding. He spoke to simple farmers, but he also once raised a flower and did not say a word to teach the path to others. This event shows that while the path is always one, it has many different aspects. Therefore, the teacher must use many different teaching methods. After his passing, the path itself became the teacher, guiding us. The disciples gathered together to maintain the path, keeping it clear and clean. They removed the trash, cleared obstacles, and expanded it. Each time they did this, it was called a Council of the Dhamma, with the purpose of adapting to the currents of thought and the unique cultural traits of each era. Due to the differing temperaments of the disciples, the path has undergone some changes and has acquired new decorations, making it look somewhat different. In addition to those wearing saffron robes, one can also see people on the path wearing black, blue, deep red, and brown robes. Indeed, as early as the Third Council held in the 3rd century BCE, 2 different sects had emerged. Later, at the First Council in the 1st century CE, these 2 sects doubled, and each sect branched into many schools. In total, there were 18 schools. However, most of these schools faded away, with only one school surviving to this day in a new form known as Theravada Buddhism or Early Buddhism. At the same time, around the 1st century CE, a movement known as Mahayana emerged on the path. Mahayana later split into many sects, schools, and sub-schools, each advocating different practices. In summary, there are currently 2 main trends or schools on the path: Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. The difference between these 2 trends lies more in practice than in the goal, which is always the same. Theravada Buddhism, also known as Southern Buddhism or Hinayana, is called early because its foundational teachings are entirely based on ancient scriptures, the oldest and most orthodox scriptures known as the Tipitaka. However, it is difficult to determine whether the early scriptures or Mahayana scriptures are older, since all written scriptures appeared around the 1st century BCE. Theravada Buddhism is also known as Southern Buddhism because it later developed in countries to the east and south of the Indian subcontinent, including Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and Cambodia. However, this naming is not entirely accurate because most of these countries, such as Myanmar, Burma, Thailand, and Cambodia, initially followed Mahayana Buddhism and only later switched to Theravada Buddhism due to the decisions of the ruling powers at that time. Calling Theravada Buddhism Hinayana, lesser vehicle, is even less accurate because the term Hinayana was introduced in Mahayana scriptures to distinguish it from the new practice of this sect. According to Mahayana, the practice should not solely focus on seeking enlightenment for oneself, but must also include helping all sentient beings achieve liberation. In short, calling Theravada Buddhism Southern Buddhism or Hinayana is not quite correct. If we do not want to call it early, we can refer to this Buddhist sect as Theravada. In Pali, Theravada means the ancient way or the old teaching. So, what are the fundamental differences between Theravada and Mahayana? The first difference lies in the scriptures. The second is that Mahayana's practices are broader and more worldly. The basic teachings of Theravada Buddhism are determined by ancient or orthodox scriptures called the Tipitaka, while Mahayana scriptures include both the Tipitaka and later texts, written from the 1st century BCE to the 5th and 6th centuries CE, including the later Tantra texts, written from the 8th to the 10th centuries. However, all sects claim that their scriptures originated during the historical Buddha's time, citing that the Buddha taught according to different levels and aimed at different audiences. The relevant scriptures were hidden to avoid being lost due to wars and looting, only to be discovered when the conditions were right. Indeed, the discovery of hidden scriptures has occurred in the past in Tibet. In conclusion, Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism are not different sects, but rather two different attitudes or approaches to practice that progress along a common path. In application, Theravada Buddhism requires practitioners to separate their activities from worldly life, strictly observe the precepts, constantly remind themselves to let go, and aim for the liberation of an arhat. In contrast, Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes the ideal image of a bodhisattva who refuses ultimate enlightenment to remain in the world to continue helping all sentient beings. If one wants to enter Mahayana steadily and easily, it is beneficial to have some minimal understanding of Theravada Buddhism. This does not mean that Theravada Buddhism is merely a stage, but rather that it is a complete and comprehensive sect in itself. Mahayana Buddhism, while it contains many deep aspects, also offers a wide variety of practices. Regardless, if one starts on the path with the teachings of Theravada, there will come a time when another need naturally arises, prompting the practitioner to choose the way of Mahayana. In truth, this is not about abandoning Theravada when entering Mahayana, as the precision and purity of Theravada are always necessary for the practitioner. In summary, Theravada and Mahayana complement each other. At first glance, Mahayana may seem so complex that some Theravada practitioners may think that Mahayana has deviated from the path. However, in reality, these transformations are just an evolution, expanding the path into our diverse world and bringing new and deeper aspects to Buddhism as a whole. Theravada Buddhism claims to adhere to the teachings of the Buddha, but it has also evolved over time to adapt to local contexts and different trends. Generally speaking, Theravada Buddhism can be seen as somewhat orthodox, strict, and always concerned with adhering to what is recorded in the ancient scriptures. In contrast, Mahayana Buddhism is more open and somewhat more worldly. So, what is Mahayana Buddhism really? If Theravada emphasizes the pure image of an arhat, Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes the responsibilities of a bodhisattva on the path. If practicing Theravada, one should follow the arhat ahead. If practicing Mahayana, one will walk alongside the bodhisattva and act as a bodhisattva. Moreover, in addition to the ideal image of the bodhisattva, Mahayana Buddhism also incorporates all kinds of local deities, both benevolent and fierce, and numerous Buddhas also appear. Thus, the path becomes more crowded and lively with Mahayana. Mahayana Buddhism consists of three main sects or schools: Pure Land, Zen, and Vajrayana. Long ago in India, a wealthy and very intelligent king renounced the world, took the Dharma name Hamara, and vowed that after attaining Buddhahood, if any sentient being sincerely prays, he would lead them to the Pure Land. After many lifetimes of practice, he attained complete liberation and became a Buddha named Amitabha, capable of leading sentient beings according to his earlier vow. If a sentient being wishes to be led to the Pure Land after death, they must sincerely call upon his compassion. This is the Pure Land method. However, it is also essential to understand that Amitabha Buddha vowed that as long as there is still one sentient being not yet liberated, he will not enter the Pure Land. This shows a higher level of the Pure Land, the close connection between compassion and fundamental enlightenment. The teachings of the Pure Land are based on three scriptures: the Infinite Life Sutra, the Amitabha Sutra, and the Contemplation Sutra. The Pure Land method focuses only on faith and prayer, so it is often considered a relatively easy practice. Nevertheless, this method also presents some challenges that are not very conducive to deeply understanding the teachings of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. Zen Buddhism, also known as Chan in China or Zen in Japan, was systematized in China in the 6th century by the Indian teacher Bodhidharma. However, Zen Buddhism is often believed to have originated from the anecdote known as Niyam Hoa Vitio, the flower sermon, from the time of Siddhartha Gautama. During a lecture, the Buddha held up a flower but did not say a word. The assembly was puzzled, but one disciple, Mahakasyapa, suddenly smiled. The Buddha's silence and Mahakasyapa's smile symbolized the direct perception of reality beyond the conventions and dualities of language. Thus, Mahakasyapa is considered the first patriarch of Indian Zen Buddhism, and Bodhidharma is the 28th patriarch who brought Zen Buddhism to China. Zen Buddhism can thus be seen as a shortcut, and if it is called a shortcut, it naturally implies a short and difficult path. This is precisely what makes it the opposite of the Pure Land method mentioned above. The specific scriptures of Zen Buddhism are almost non-existent, except for a Mahayana Sutra that is very close to Zen Buddhism, the Lankavatara Sutra, and a few other collections of koans. Koans are statements or short stories that are often surprising, illogical, or seemingly absurd, designed to help the practitioner break free from the traps of thought, transcend all reasoning based on conventional understanding and concepts, and approach the true nature of all phenomena directly. This direct perception of reality is enlightenment. These are the basic concepts of Pure Land and Zen Buddhism. The third major school of Mahayana is Vajrayana, also known as Tantric Buddhism, a complete vehicle of Buddhism that includes the entire foundational teachings of Buddhism, from the Tipitaka to the Mahayana scriptures, and most importantly, the Tantric scriptures. Vajrayana is often misunderstood as Tibetan Buddhism. In reality, it is a very large school, officially formed and systematically organized in India around the 8th century, and later spread to northern countries like Tibet, Mongolia, China, Japan, and also to southern countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, and Indonesia, before these countries transitioned to Theravada Buddhism. Concrete evidence of the presence of Vajrayana throughout this region is the vast remains of Tantric Buddhism in the capital city of Pagan in Myanmar, and the world's largest Tantric Buddhist temple, Borobudur, on the island of Java in Indonesia. Tantra means that which protects the mind, keeping it stable and unaffected by disturbing emotions that can scatter it. The unique practices of the Vajrayana differentiate it from other Buddhist schools. This practice utilizes all the power of the mind's energies to transform them into forces that drive toward enlightenment. For example, a tree that produces bitter and toxic fruits would, according to other Buddhist schools, be uprooted and destroyed so that it cannot grow back. But in Vajrayana, the practitioner must swallow the toxic fruits and transform them into vital and powerful energy to aid in their practice. In short, it means transforming all the power of all emotions, even the most disturbing ones, into the power of zeal and wisdom. Moreover, Vajrayana practices involve many complex symbols and rituals, mandalas, mantras, etc. Therefore, practicing Vajrayana or Tantric Buddhism requires the guidance and assistance of qualified teachers. Dear friends, these are some sketches of the Theravada path, representing fundamental and steady steps that are thus very pure. The Pure Land path promotes gentle steps, which may require a long time to reach the destination. Zen Buddhism, on the other hand, is a reverse approach and is considered quite challenging, requiring mastery of the mind's operations and direct perception of reality, and thus may require specific qualities suited to this practice. Finally, Vajrayana appears to be the most comprehensive and dynamic, but it is also very complex and diverse, requiring extraordinary determination and the guidance of a qualified teacher. On this path, there are always practitioners who walk while looking back, or who still enjoy watching the diverse scenes on both sides of the road. There are those who limp and rely on each other for support. Some sit down to bandage the wounds of those who stumble, and there are those who walk very quickly. However, all people on the path may reach the final stage one day. So what will that final stage be like? The further you go, the wider and more open the path becomes, filled with light. Then at some point, the traveler may suddenly feel that the road has completely transformed, with all the landmarks and guides seemingly disappearing. There is no longer any distinction between forward, backward, right, left, up, down, etc. As a result, even if the traveler wants to, they can no longer take another step, nor can they retreat. It feels as if space, time, the path, and oneself have all become one. Even when trying to look back with the mind, the traveler no longer sees the path. The previous schools such as Theravada, Pure Land, Zen, and Tantra also disappear, or at least no longer hold any attraction, much like the marbles, stones, or jump ropes one was once passionate about in childhood. All phenomena dissolve, no longer creating any interaction, and the knots of interdependence are untied. The impermanent nature of phenomena and the law of cause and effect no longer have any impact. This signifies that the traveler is taking the final step on the path. After this step, there is nothing to be born and nothing to be destroyed. Everything stops, and the adventure ends here. Dear friends, that is the content of this video. What do you think? Please comment below to share your thoughts. Wishing you and your family peace and happiness.
Buddhism and the Creator. Is there a Supreme Creator? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. The question of a Supreme Creator is perhaps humanity's greatest question, often fueling intense debates and even wars over conflicting beliefs. How does Buddhism, with its focus on universal harmony, address this concept? Does Buddhism acknowledge a supreme creative force, an omnipotent being, or perhaps a creative principle guiding the cosmos? Buddhism views the universe's remarkable harmony as nothing more than a fortunate coincidence. Let's explore this topic further and examine whether Buddhism accepts the idea of a creator. Modern cosmology reveals that the conditions allowing life and human consciousness to exist in our universe seem almost intentionally encoded. From atomic particles to stars and galaxies, the universe appears to be precisely tuned, as if crafted specifically for humanity. Scientists identify two main factors behind our universe's creation. 1. Initial conditions. Specific starting conditions, such as the universe's total mass and energy and its rate of initial expansion. 2. Physical constants. Roughly 15 physical constants, including the gravitational constant, Planck's constant, the speed of light, and the masses of elementary particles. These constants are measured with astonishing precision, yet science lacks a theory to predict them. In constructing cosmological models, scientists have found that these initial conditions and constants must be arranged in an extraordinarily harmonious order. A minor deviation in any of these values would have made life, and indeed the universe itself, impossible. For example, consider the initial density of matter in the universe. Matter exerts a gravitational pull that counters the universe's expansion, slowing it down. If this initial density were too high, the universe would collapse within a short time frame, 1,000,000 years, a century, or even less. Conversely, if the initial density were too low, gravity would be insufficient to form stars, which means no heavy elements would form, and life as we know it could not exist. The initial density had to be set at an exact value, 10⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻⁻ But rather than being a product of divine design, Buddhism sees this as an inherent harmony of natural processes, where the universe is not so much created by an external deity, but arises from interdependent causes and conditions. This extraordinary precision can be compared to a skilled archer aiming at a 1 centimeter target positioned 14 billion light-years away, right at the edge of the observable universe. The question arises, is there a creator, a being who crafted the universe so perfectly to allow human life to exist? How do we view this remarkable harmony? According to scientists, we have two choices. 1, chance or necessity. If this perfection is purely random, we must accept the existence of an infinite number of other universes besides our own, forming what's known as the multiverse. Each of these universes would contain its own unique set of physical constants and initial conditions, though only ours has the exact combination needed for life, making us the lucky winners among an array of lifeless universes. 2, single universe with creative principle. If we reject the multiverse theory and acknowledge only one universe, ours, then we must consider the possibility of a creative principle that has precisely guided the universe's development. Choosing between these options is challenging, and science cannot decisively support either. Considering the possibility of chance, several theories attempt to explain the universe's creation as part of a multiverse. One such theory, rooted in quantum mechanics, suggests that the universe splits into countless replicas based on choices made, with variations as minor as the position of an electron within an atom. Another theory proposes that in an eternal cycle of big bangs and big crunches, the universe perpetually renews itself, each cycle beginning anew with a unique set of physical constants and initial conditions. Yet another concept, by physicists like André Linde, suggests that our universe emerged from one of many quantum fluctuations or primordial bubbles in space. In this view, our universe is just a tiny bubble in a super-universe, filled with countless others, though none other than ours has the right physical constants to sustain life. Does science have an answer to the creator question, or is Buddhism the key? Buddhism differs fundamentally from other spiritual traditions regarding the concept of a creator. In Buddhism, the idea of a first cause is unnecessary due to the doctrines of emptiness shunyata and dependent origination, pratityasamutpada. These teachings suggest that the question of creation is irrelevant because phenomena do not originate from non-existence to existence in an absolute sense. Instead, they exist as part of what is called conventional truth, samvriddhi satya, a reality constructed by our perception rather than as ultimate, objective realities. Phenomenal reality and illusion of objectivity, Buddhism holds that our experiences of the world, what we believe to be objectively real, is inherently deceptive. When viewed deeply, phenomena are not independently existing realities. Instead, they arise interdependently, devoid of intrinsic nature. This perspective is known as ultimate truth, paramartha satya, in Buddhism, which sees no objective, self-sustained essence in phenomena. Given this, the question of creation becomes challenging, as the notion of a primal origin assumes the absolute reality of phenomena. Creation concepts only become necessary when we believe in an independently existing world. Once we see that phenomena lack independent existence and are ultimately empty of inherent nature, the need for a creator concept dissolves. Dependent origination and causality. While Buddhism does not discount the presence of a manifest phenomenal world, it emphasizes that nothing exists in isolation. Nagarjuna, a prominent 2nd-century Indian philosopher, explained that all things arise dependently and lack intrinsic nature. Thus, their emergence and progression are governed not by chance or divine intervention, but by causal interdependence and the laws of karma. This web of causes and conditions shapes everything, encompassing all existence. Since phenomena are not independent, they cannot truly begin or end as isolated entities. Therefore, ideas like the universe's beginning and end belong to conventional reality, not ultimate truth. Alignment with modern cosmology. This view complements modern cosmology, which explores the idea that the universe might lack an absolute starting point. For instance, theories like the multiverse and cyclic universes suggest that our universe could be one of countless interconnected cycles without a single origin or conclusion. Both Buddhist philosophy and contemporary cosmology allow for a reality far more intricate than traditional creator-based models, proposing a universe shaped by interconnected causes and conditions rather than divine orchestration. We observe that only two cosmological models truly lack a starting or ending point: a cyclic universe involving an endless series of big bangs and big crunches, or a flat, ever-expanding universe where the density of matter, and dark energy combined only meets the critical density. In this flat model, expansion continues indefinitely, never reaching zero speed, even over infinite time. Current cosmological data lean towards this latter model, suggesting a universe that expands endlessly, rather than a cyclic model with recurring collapses. In Buddhist philosophy, the remarkable harmony of the universe, enough to give rise to consciousness, is neither the work of a supreme creator nor the product of mere chance, as some multiverse theories propose. Instead, Buddhism sees the material universe and consciousness as coexisting since beginningless time, interdependent in a state of mutual harmony. This view asserts that phenomena and consciousness are not separate or arbitrary, but intricately connected through dependent origination, pratityasamutpada. This interdependence creates a marvelous equilibrium, where matter and mind sustain each other without one superseding the other. Neuroscience and consciousness. Modern biology is still far from fully understanding the origin of consciousness. Many biologists argue that consciousness arises solely from physical processes, suggesting it emerges from complex neural networks in the brain once a critical threshold of organization is achieved. In this view, consciousness is not coexistent with matter, but is rather a byproduct of biological complexity. Yet, Buddhism's stance does not imply dualism, the division of mind and matter into separate realities, as in Descartes' dualism. Rather, it emphasizes that both mind and matter, while distinct in the conventional sense, samvriddhisatya, lack inherent existence or independence. Thus, Buddhism denies ultimate reality to the phenomenal world and similarly rejects the idea of consciousness as an independently existing, self-sustaining entity. Convergence between Buddhism and modern science. Both modern science and Buddhism share key convergences, particularly in their skepticism towards an omnipotent, eternal creator. This non-theistic perspective is clear in Pali and Mahayana Buddhist scriptures, where ultimate truth transcends personal God figures. While science and Buddhism may differ in their approaches and terminology, both realms lean towards a non-dual, interdependent understanding of the universe, one that doesn't rely on a supreme creator, but on natural principles and interconnections. In Mahayana Buddhism, the notion of a supreme creator deity is viewed as an illusory belief that ultimately fails to bring genuine happiness to humanity. This belief does not align with the Buddha's teachings, which prioritize addressing human suffering directly rather than attributing existence or suffering to a divine source. Buddhism regards such beliefs as potentially harmful, as seen in the caste system deeply embedded in ancient Indian society, where social hierarchy was justified by the concept of Brahma as the creator. Each caste was seen as emanating from different parts of Brahma's body, leading to entrenched social divisions. The Brahmins, priests from Brahma's mouth; Kshatriyas, rulers from his arms; Vaishyas, merchants from his thighs; and Shudras, servants from his feet. These fixed roles perpetuated inequality and limited social mobility. The Buddha challenged these societal norms by rejecting the existence of Brahma as a creator and redefining value based on personal conduct rather than birthright. In Buddhist scriptures, there are records of dialogues between the Buddha and Brahmins where he questioned the validity of a creator deity. For instance, when asked if any Brahmin had ever seen or knew the nature or origin of Brahma, it became evident that their belief was grounded not in direct knowledge, but in tradition and faith alone. The Buddha argued that blind faith in a deity often led to intolerance, pride, and conflict when confronted with differing beliefs. Across centuries, Buddhist philosophy has elaborated arguments against the existence of a creator deity, presenting reasoned alternatives. Similar to how Western philosophers have critiqued theological proofs of a supreme creator, Buddhism offers a path rooted in understanding interdependence rather than external causation. For some believers, the concept of a creator serves as a comforting and awe-inspiring figure, deeply connected to childhood traditions and societal norms. However, Buddhism encourages a path towards self-awareness and compassion as means to alleviate suffering, rather than reliance on divine intervention. Through this lens, Buddhism presents a profound departure from theism, emphasizing a path of direct experience and insight to navigate the complexities of life and existence. In the study of mystics across all major religions, their lives and works suggest a profound shift in consciousness, often attained through deep meditation or prayer. Mystics describe a heightened state of awareness, where joy and peace radiate from within, which they interpret as communion with the divine. In such moments, they perceive themselves as intermediaries between God and humanity, leading them to frame their experiences within their respective theological traditions. This quest for spiritual validation often places mystics in tension with religious orthodoxy, which may view their experiences as heterodox or even heretical. Buddhist meditation practitioners, however, approach mystical experiences differently. Through deep meditation, Buddhists seek to observe the nature of reality by recognizing the three marks of existence: impermanence, suffering, and the absence of an inherent self, anatta. This perspective highlights non-attachment to the ego and helps practitioners understand the transient and interconnected nature of experiences. By doing so, they can avoid the trap of misinterpreting fleeting thoughts or emotions as spiritual truths and remain grounded in the direct perception of reality. Advanced practitioners in Buddhism, through sustained meditative insight, reach a state where there's no fixed subject or object. Instead, consciousness flows freely like a river, without attachment to a permanent self or external deity. This state, where the self dissolves in the present moment without a controlling deity, leads to a perspective that contrasts with theistic views. Consequently, Buddhism is often seen as atheistic by those who interpret the absence of a creator deity as a lack of belief in the divine. However, this Buddhist atheism is distinct from the secular or materialistic atheism found in purely materialist philosophies, as it embraces a harmonious view of mind and matter interwoven in a cause and effect framework without the necessity of a creator. In this way, Buddhism offers a path of inner transformation through non-attachment and insight, allowing practitioners to experience freedom from ego-driven desires and emotions. This mystical journey, rather than leading to communion with the Creator, fosters a deeper understanding of the interdependent nature of all phenomena, ultimately aimed at liberation from the cycles of birth and death. Buddhism offers a distinct perspective on creation, one that neither aligns with pure materialism nor endorses the existence of an eternal creator. Instead, it emphasizes karma, the law of cause and effect, as the cycle that governs the existence of all beings, linking mind and matter in a continuous process of change. In Buddhism, the teachings on non-self, anatta, dismantle the concept of an unchanging soul or ego, which Buddhism views as the primary source of human suffering. This non-self doctrine is not a denial of existence, but rather a pathway to liberation, allowing individuals to transcend desires and attachments and achieve nirvana, a state of profound peace beyond the fires of craving and hatred. Unlike theistic doctrines, nirvana in Buddhism is not an external realm created by a supreme deity, but a state free from suffering, rooted in one's inner transformation. Therefore, Buddhism presents itself not as an adversary of religion, but rather as a counter to the notion of total annihilation, emphasizing instead a constant cycle of renewal through rebirth across the 6 realms of samsara and the tranquil domains of enlightened beings. In Asia, Buddhist values, represented by the 5 precepts and 10 virtues, have historically formed the ethical foundation of societies without needing the fear of divine retribution or promise of heavenly reward. By adhering to these moral codes, Buddhism offers individuals and societies a path grounded in compassion, wisdom, and self-discovery rather than reliance on a supreme deity. Devotees view Buddha not as a distant god, but as a teacher, an embodiment of compassion, recognizing his potential within themselves, a concept that sets Buddhism apart from other religions. Buddhism's philosophical approach and practical teachings go beyond religious boundaries by centering on human experience, suffering, and the cessation of suffering in this life. Although Buddhism can coexist with other beliefs, Its lack of a supreme creator makes it unique, providing an ethical and spiritual framework that is open, yet grounded in personal realization and empirical practice. Feel free to share your thoughts on this perspective below. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Watch this entire video to witness the miracles of Buddhism. If someone forces me to answer the question, which Buddhist sutra provides the deepest wisdom, I will not hesitate for a second and say it is the Diamond Sutra. Because the Diamond Sutra has the ability to break through all ignorance and attachment, helping sentient beings attain ultimate enlightenment. The wisdom in the Diamond Sutra is both ancient and infinitely mysterious. The Diamond Sutra is not medicine, but it is like a key that can open the door to all things. If you truly understand the secret of this key, you can accomplish anything. This is the most practical Dharma and also a rare, hard-to-find wisdom. But that's not all the content in today's video. At the end of the Diamond Sutra channel, there is a very famous 4-line verse. The Buddha's Dharma is like an illusory dream. Precious images like morning dew, like lightning flashes that appear swiftly. The secret of the Diamond Sutra channel lies in the last 4 words of each line. When read from bottom to top, these 4 words form, viewing the Dharma like a film. These 4 words unveil the secret of the Diamond Sutra. So what is that secret? Let's decode it together in today's video. The Diamond Sutra is one of the most important scriptures in Mahayana Buddhism, divided into 32 sections with 2 main questions posed by the Bodhisattva: how to subdue the mind and how to stabilize the mind. Both questions revolve around helping practitioners attain ultimate enlightenment, namely the unsurpassed right view and right wisdom. At that time, the Buddha explained that to subdue the mind, one must first subdue all sentient beings, but must understand that the nature of sentient beings is formless and non-existent. This means letting go of all illusions, not allowing the mind to be dragged by notions of existence or non-existence, form or formlessness, and bringing these illusions to a state of non-arising, meaning no longer giving rise to them. When illusions no longer arise, the mind naturally stabilizes. The Buddha taught that one should keep the mind unattached to the 6 sense bases: form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental phenomena. A stabilized mind is one that observes all phenomena without being controlled by them. For example, the eye sees forms but does not chase after forms. The ear hears sounds but does not chase after sounds. This is a state of stability that is calm but not attached. However, there is an issue to resolve. If one practices generosity without stabilizing the mind in relation to forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and mental phenomena, how can one perform generosity? Suppose you see someone hungry and want to give them all the food to end their hunger. You would have to take something like rice or money. These are forms, right? If you hold rice or money in your hand to give them, it means you are attached to forms while practicing generosity. Or if you use comforting words to alleviate their suffering, those are also forms. Or if you use sweet-smelling items that smell, and so on. In other words, you have to think of something to perform generosity. If not, how can you practice generosity without stabilizing in forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and mental phenomena? How then can you practice generosity? This is a question that many readers of the Diamond Sutra are puzzled by and do not know how to apply in their practice. We must clearly understand that generosity is about giving and letting go. Stabilizing is about not being attached. We must let go and not cling to the 6 sense bases. This is how generosity is practiced without attachment, allowing the mind to stabilize. The reason we are disturbed is that we cling to the 6 sense bases, making the mind restless, stuck in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental phenomena. Because we are stuck in the 6 sense bases, our minds remain restless. Now, when we practice generosity, it means letting go, not being attached to the 6 sense bases, and naturally the mind stabilizes as mentioned earlier. In this passage, more delicately, the Buddha teaches us not to let the mind to the 6 sense bases, which is stabilizing the mind. Therefore, meditation masters, especially Master Ba Trung, when speaking about liberation, instruct that the mind and emptiness do not come together, that the mind does not cling to the sense bases, which is liberation, that is, stabilizing the mind. Thus, we must see clearly the method of practice. Practice is about letting go, not clinging to the six sense bases, which is stabilizing the mind. When the mind is subdued, it stabilizes. The mind attains unsurpassed wisdom. The Prajnaparamita is an important factor that helps practitioners achieve both of these. The Buddha emphasized that all phenomena are dependent origination, having no inherent nature. They are like illusions, bubbles, shadows, bones, or lightning flashes, temporary and illusory. One must use wisdom to contemplate this true nature, thereby letting go of attachment and characteristics. When the mind is no longer attached, the practitioner attains a state of immovability, achieving absolute truth and ultimate liberation. The merit of practicing the Diamond Sutra, when practiced correctly, goes beyond all forms of material generosity, because it does not belong to the conditioned phenomena, things, but to the unconditioned, non-arising, non-ceasing. This is the path from contemplating the illusory nature of all phenomena, subduing the mind, restless illusions to stabilizing the mind, and finally attaining enlightenment. Thus, studying and practicing the Diamond Sutra is not just about reading, chanting, or memorizing the sutra, but more importantly about applying the teachings and practical meditation, transforming the inner self to reach a state of immovability. It is about practicing and living according to the spirit of the Tathagata. In the Diamond Sutra, there is a very famous verse. If anyone fully understands it, it will be a step forward in the process of attaining enlightenment without fail. All conditioned phenomena are like an illusory dream. Precious images are like morning dew, like lightning flashes that swiftly arise and vanish like passing clouds. Translation: all conditioned phenomena are like illusions, shadows like dew appearances, like lightning flashes as sudden appearances. The secret of human life in the Diamond Sutra: like a dream, joys or sorrows are just like shadows, bubbles, morning dew, or early dawn. Glory and wealth are like floating clouds. Fame and fortune are like flowers in the moon's reflection on water. Everything in the universe is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. Human life is like a movie, with ups and downs, moments of peace, sometimes bathed in the bright sunlight, sometimes overwhelmed by storms. These scenes cause our minds to generate likes and dislikes, joys and sorrows that come and go with the scenes. In the end, when you realize you have been an actor all your life, always performing according to a script without ever living your true self, when you leave the world and look back on your life, do you still insist on forcing your child to study the best, do the best, achieve outstanding achievements? Do you still need to live in houses more luxurious than others, wear the finest clothes, eat gourmet food, travel in luxury? Do you still feel the need to repay injuries with injuries, pursue things, and cling to attachments throughout your life? In the end, you cannot take with you those who have loved you, hurt you, blamed you, or caused you suffering. Let them come when needed and leave when they need to leave. When you let go of attachments, you will realize that you are still yourself, not swayed by those people or things. That is truly you. At that moment, you return to your true self. In the scripture, the teaching about the advancing mind is when the Buddha says, "The Tathagata often tells monks and nuns that those who understand the Dharma I teach are like a raft crossing a river. Once they have reached the other shore, they should abandon the raft." What are things that are not Dharma? This means that even within the Dharma, one should not cling, just like the raft. After crossing the river, it should be let go. With the Dharma being like that, how much more should worldly knowledge and experience not be clung to? This is the meaning of all phenomena are emptiness. All phenomena are empty. Do not be satisfied with the knowledge or experience you have. Instead, continuously broaden your horizons. Old ideologies that were once useful must also be let go when the time comes, to continuously surpass yourself and achieve great freedom. Some people believe that Buddhism is negative, fearing that studying Buddhism will lead to a loss of progressive will, thus not daring to embark on the path of practice. But in reality, Buddhism is not negative at all. The letting go here does not mean abandoning everything, but letting go of attachments. When not bound by mental burdens, you can develop creativity and progress freely. Letting go does not eliminate the will to live. On the contrary, it helps you live more fully, profoundly, and meaningfully. In fact, this is a misunderstanding of Buddhism from a secular perspective. An advancing mind is a good thing from the Buddhist perspective. The advancing mind is also affirmed. The Buddha wants us to advance but not cling, to show human desire, aspiration, and striving. However, in the process of pursuit, if we succeed, we will feel proud, but if we fail, we will feel embarrassed. This is attachment and overemphasis on success. Moreover, regarding what we are pursuing, we often have subjective value judgments, thereby exaggerating their importance. When we do not achieve our goals, we easily fall into suffering. Additionally, we often cling to our own experiences and methods, believing they are the best path to success. From there, we become arrogant and do not accept others' opinions. This kind of attachment can lead to conflicts, making life tiring, full of anxiety and tension. To advance without burdens, we need the wisdom of a non-attached mind, understanding that everything arises from causes and conditions. Only then can we overcome the attachments to phenomena and let the mind be at ease, both actively striving and not losing inner peace. Inner peace. The Diamond Sutra teaches about the non-attached mind through the verse, just as sentient beings maintaining a pure mind, not maintaining attachment to forms generating the mind, not maintaining attachment to sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and mental phenomena generating the mind, maintaining no possession to stabilize, nothing generates the mind. The meaning is to understand that all phenomena are illusory. We should generate and establish a pure mind to achieve ultimate enlightenment. Do not let the mind cling to phenomena, material things, sounds, sweet smells, tastes, sensations, or memories. If the mind clings to those things, that is the delusional mind of the layperson. A non-attached mind does not mean doing nothing or not thinking. It means not letting the mind cling to anything. A non-attached mind does not prevent the activation of thoughts, intentions, or human actions. Therefore, in relation to the material world without attachment, one can profoundly comprehend the Buddha's Dharma in the current era. We are living amidst the whirlwind of materialism, worshipping money and leading a hedonistic lifestyle. People no longer care about life ideals or responsibilities to the nation and society, but instead discuss movies, stocks, fashion, cuisine, or entertainment stars. The world before our eyes is dazzling and attractive, but can easily lead people astray. Enjoying material civilization is a legitimate right, but humans should not become slaves to material things. Following the worship of first things will cause the spirit to become hollow, losing the anchor of the soul. A non-attached mind in the Diamond Sutra can help humans reduce pressure, keep the mind pure amidst the whirlpool of materialism. Use the great wisdom of Prajnaparamita to cut off attachments and materialism, thereby elevating spiritual life, achieving the brilliant light and clarity of the soul. Humans not only need material life, but also a rich spiritual life. The richness of the spirit is true wealth. Inner contentment is the truest happiness. Human nature often makes things difficult for itself, overthinking about unworthy matters, which is the source of suffering. If the mind is full of chaos and daydreams, even living in luxurious high-rise buildings is no different from living in a hut. Eating delicious food and fine tastes is no different from drinking poison. When the mind is calm, all things are calm. When the mind is stable, everything becomes peaceful. A simple meal becomes delicious, and peace within the soul is the most precious thing, even if only eating plain rice and vegetables living in a simple bamboo house. If the soul is calm and self-contained, everything becomes better compared to lofty mountains, beautiful landscapes, or luxurious villas. The seventh aspect is the mind in the present. This is one of the important teachings of the Diamond Sutra. The sutra states, "The past mind is insurmountable, the present mind is insurmountable, the future mind is insurmountable." This means that the past mind, present mind, and future mind cannot be grasped. The past has passed, the things that have happened should be let go. Do not cling to concepts in life. Many people are immersed in pride or regret about the past, achievements, or mistakes, all of which are like flowing water, unable to return. If you try to understand your true self in the past, it is impossible. Similarly, the future is as illusory as the past. No one knows how the future will come. If you place your mind in the future, it is no different from placing trust and conjecture in the future mind. The mind often falls into reasoning, imagining, and expecting. People often nurture illusions that truth or true happiness will be achieved in the future. But in reality, the future has not arrived, and everything you imagine is vague and unreal. Even the present mind cannot be grasped. The Buddha taught that in the mind, a fleeting thought arises and perishes 9 or 10 times, faster than the speed of light. When you cling, when you become aware of a thought, that thought already belongs to the past. Because of the continuous arising and passing of the mind, the present mind cannot be retained. We often cannot let go of attachments because we are caught in the past mind, present mind, or future mind. When we cling to attachments and delusional thoughts, we cannot achieve transcendence. The past mind has perished, the present mind does not stop, the future mind has not yet come, the mind cannot be held onto. Understanding this, we learn to let go of attachments to all 3 minds, thereby seeing everything clearly. Gently, letting go and no longer being entangled, the soul becomes free, the body and mind calm, and all suffering gradually dissipates. Dependent origination. The Diamond Sutra mentions dependent origination at the very end. All phenomena of the Buddha's Dharma are like an illusory dream, precious images like morning dew, like lightning flashes that swiftly arise and vanish like passing clouds. Human life is like a dream. Joys or sorrows are just like shadows, bubbles, morning dew, or early dawn. Glory and wealth are like floating clouds. Fame and fortune are like flowers in the moon's reflection on water. Everything in the universe is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. Humans are merely passers-by between heaven and earth. How can one keep what one loves forever? All things in this world, humans only have temporary use rights. No one has the right to own them permanently. When understanding clearly that all phenomena are dependently arisen and dependent on conditions, you will see through yourself, overcome delusions and suffering, fame and fortune, or worldly temptations. From there, the soul becomes clear, letting go of attachments and not being bound by trivial things. Only by not clinging to anything can we live freely, lightly, facing all changes in life, whether joys or sorrows, dissolutions, cold or heat, overcoming success and failure, glory and shame, gain and loss, even life and death, living according to conditions. Not clinging to anything, you can understand the great wisdom of life. If you persist in watching until here, it proves that you are a righteous Buddhist practitioner. Thank you very much. If today's sharing has brought anything useful to you, please click the like button to encourage us and leave a comment. Practicing the Diamond Sutra through small actions will help you increase merit, enhance wisdom, and assist in finding favorable conditions towards a peaceful realm. The merits are truly beyond words. Were you born from karma? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Have you ever wondered who you are, how you came to this life, what your past life was like, where everything began, and whether people can change their destiny by changing their behavior to alter the cause and effect relationships? And what is liberation, really? Let's keep a relaxed mind as we begin today's video. According to Buddhist teachings, sentient beings are neither annihilated nor eternal but continue to cycle through birth and death, a process called reincarnation. In Chinese, reincarnation, luan hoi, breaks down as luan meaning wheel and hoi meaning return. The image of a spinning wheel is used to depict the constant movement of each sentient being across the 6 realms, sometimes reincarnating in one realm, other times in another, in an unending cycle of life and death, like a wheel that keeps turning. If we accept the law of cause and effect, we cannot deny reincarnation. For reincarnation is simply an ongoing sequence of cause and effect. The wheel of reincarnation spins on this circle, which has no starting point and no ending point, continuing in the endless cycle of birth and death, filled with suffering, until one attains enlightenment and liberation. The concept of life and death in Buddhism is based on reincarnation. The death of the human body is not the end. There is something called the soul that will continue to reincarnate. Even animals and other forms of life undergo reincarnation, constantly living and dying. In reality, you cannot determine what kind of person you will be in your next life. It depends on your karma and the merit or misdeeds from your past life. The root of reincarnation lies in the law of cause and effect. The Buddhist concept of karma and reincarnation is not a simple, linear theory. Instead, it involves highly complex causes and conditions. This includes teaching people how to properly understand destiny and practice in a way that can shape their fate. The following story is a clear illustration. There was a famous sacred well in a temple in Sipan, sealed with a wooden cover. The well water was clear all year round, and when standing at its edge, one could see both one's past and present. One day, an old wealthy man in the village, Old Wang, heard of this and became very curious. He wanted to go investigate the truth of this story. After arriving at the temple, Old Wang carefully performed a ritual for the bodhisattva and met with the abbot to explain his purpose. "I want to go to the well to see who I was in my past life." The old monk led him to the well, knelt down, unlocked, and opened the well cover. Old Wang calmly looked into the clear water and saw an elderly man with white hair reflected on the water's surface. The man was dressed in ragged clothes, carrying a plank on his shoulder, walking toward a shabby, leaky cottage. Old Wang hesitated, asking doubtfully, "Is this really my past life?" The old monk nodded, confirming that Old Wang's previous life had been that of a lonely, impoverished old man. Near his rundown cottage, there was a stream without a bridge, and people could only cross it by taking off their shoes and wading through, which was inconvenient. The old man wanted to contribute in a small way to help others, so each morning he would carry a plank to build a bridge for the villagers. He continued doing this every day for many years, always caring for and helping others with various tasks. Due to the merit he had accumulated directly, the old man was reborn as a wealthy man in his current life. Old Wang was overjoyed upon hearing this. He hadn't expected that such a small act in his past life would bring him so much fortune in this one. Inspired, he immediately came up with a new idea. He wanted to replicate his past life's deeds by building another bridge to serve the people and accumulate more merit for himself. He spent 300 taels of silver to hire a team of skilled workers to build a stone bridge. The best stonemasons in the village were summoned, and the old Wang ordered them to complete the bridge as quickly as possible. It should be noted that building a bridge entirely from stone was extremely complex. Even the most skilled stonemasons faced many difficulties. However, Old Wang was a landlord with considerable power in the area, and the workers were compelled to complete the bridge as he demanded. During construction, additional costs inevitably arose. The workers quickly used up the 300 taels of silver given by Old Wang. When the money ran out, they approached him for more funding. Known as the stingiest landlord in the area, he told them he wouldn't give a single extra penny and threatened to punish them and their families if they did not finish the bridge quickly. Terrified, the stonemasons returned home, selling all their belongings to fund the bridge's completion. After great effort, the bridge was finally finished. Old Wang celebrated by hanging lanterns and flowers, and even slaughtered pigs and sheep for the feast. Then he went to the temple to perform a ritual, eagerly going to the well to see how brilliant his next life would be. But what he saw in the well shocked him. It was a thin, tailless ox reflected in the water. Old Wang couldn't accept this and questioned the old monk, asking what had happened. The monk sighed and slowly explained, "It seems that you did a similar act in your previous life. However, in that life, you gave everything selflessly, without expecting anything in return. But now your good deed wasn't from the heart, it was for personal gain. Moreover, your actions caused the stonemasons to lose all their possessions. So, do you think you were doing good or bad?" the monk asked. He continued, "If you recognize your mistake and repent now, you can still make amends." Upon hearing this, Old Wang quickly went back to find the stonemasons, helping them repurchase their property. After completing this, he returned to the well. This time, the ox in the well had grown a tail. Astonished, Old Wang couldn't keep calm and questioned the monk again, saying, "What does this mean? I spent hundreds of taels of silver just to buy a tail?" The monk answered in a calm and profound tone, "Don't underestimate this small tail. It's very useful. It can swat away flies and scratch itches." Through this story, I believe you can understand the message the author intended to convey. From this, we can see that true charity must come from the heart, from compassion, not to serve some ulterior motive. Every wrongful action becomes a seed of karma that directly influences the cycles of cause and effect and reincarnation. Karma obstacle is a term derived from karma and obstacle. Here, karma means action or the creation of karma, and depending on each case, karma obstacle signifies intent. Good intentions create good karma, and evil intentions create bad karma. An intention that serves all sentient beings is a good intention, resulting in good karma. An intention solely for oneself is a bad intention, leading to bad karma. Our intentions create thoughts, known as mental karma. When we produce sounds and words, that is verbal karma. Our bodily actions lead to deeds, called physical karma. Therefore, in general, karma is generated from our own thoughts, words, and action. Which is how karma is created. Karma that arises and has consequences brings obstacles in the future. The term obstacles refers to external factors that hinder and cause us to create negative karma. Although obstacles appear to come later, they must exist first for people to act and create karma. Thus, the essence of karmic obstacles begins with ignorance. Ignorance meaning a lack of understanding. Here, ignorance does not refer to human intellect or knowledge. Rather, it signifies mistaken views about the nature of reality. Many Buddhist teachings highlight that ignorance originates within us, as even ordinary people possess desires and attachments such as greed, anger, delusion, arrogance, and doubt. With ordinary human vision, it is difficult to see the true nature of things. Broadly speaking, ignorance may be either unconscious or deliberate. Knowing something is wrong, yet being unable to overcome one's selfishness and continuing to act wrongly is intentional. On the other hand, acting out of lack of awareness and being manipulated for personal gain due to ignorance is unintended. Because of ignorance, we create many karmic obstacles that bind us to the cycle of reincarnation. All these actions occur in our present lives and leave imprints on the ocean of our consciousness, impacting the seeds in our mental consciousness positively or negatively. For example, if you harm or hurt someone, even if they do not seek revenge, you will still face consequences in the future for the actions you committed. As we say, you reap what you sow. A comforting word you say may inspire someone on the brink of suicide to find hope in life again, while a hurtful word can cause someone lifelong pain and remorse. Even if you do not act physically, merely harboring malicious thoughts can also create karma. At times, when you think poorly of someone, you might believe they will never know your thoughts, and thus, it does not affect them. But that is not the case. It still creates karma. For example, if you always view a coworker unfavorably, interpreting all his actions negatively, and then someone in the office loses a phone, you might suspect him of theft. Or if one day your company requires overtime and this person offers to buy food for everyone, you might doubt his goodwill, assuming he has hidden motives. This is karma you create yourself. For this reason, devout Buddhists pay close attention to their thoughts to nurture positive thoughts and prevent harmful ones from arising. Only in this way can a person's heart be purified, refined, and freed. Some people deny the law of karma because, in reality, they have witnessed many cases of injustice, questioning why good people often endure so much suffering while some bad individuals enjoy glory and wealth. In fact, this is a very good question. But think more deeply. We cannot view this issue from the usual logical perspective. Sometimes, everything happening around you is not as you think because you are still under the veil of ignorance. Let's look at the following story to understand better. During the Northern Song dynasty, there was a young man whose legs were crippled. His parents had passed away, and he lived a lonely, difficult life, relying on charity and alms from his neighbors. There was a river in front of the village where he lived, with no bridge across it. Villagers and passers-by who wanted to cross had to wade through it, which was inconvenient, especially when the river was flooded, making it impassable. Year after year, no one wanted to change this situation, but this young man started gathering stones along the river every day. Curious, people asked him why he was piling up stones by the river. He replied, "I am collecting stones to build a bridge." People laughed and dismissed him, thinking it was almost impossible. But he kept gathering stones every day, year after year, until he had gathered a large mound resembling a hill. Eventually, his neighbors were moved by his spirit and began to join in, collecting stones and helping build the bridge. The neighbors even invited craftsmen to start constructing the stone bridge. Just as the bridge was nearing completion, the young man lost his sight while gathering stones. Everyone felt sad and blamed heaven for its unfairness, as he could not even see the fruit of his labor, despite all the effort he put into it. Yet the young man did not complain. He continued to do everything he could each day to help complete the dream bridge. With everyone's collaborative efforts, the bridge was finally built. As they celebrated with joy, a sudden heavy rainstorm hit. Amid the deafening thunder, they discovered the poor man had been struck by lightning and had tragically fallen to his death. Everyone mourned his suffering and cursed the blind heavens. At that moment, a famous magistrate of that era, Bao Zheng, happened to be inspecting the area. After hearing the story, he too was moved by the young man's story and pitied his fate. Bao Zheng then scribbled 6 words on the ground: "Doing evil outweighs doing good," and left. After returning to the capital, the emperor summoned Bao Zheng to hear his report on the inspection tour. Bao Zheng reported all the events from the journey, but he chose to omit one detail: the 6 words, "Doing evil outweighs doing good," thinking it might not be appropriate to disclose it to the emperor. A few days later, the empress gave birth to a young prince. Although the baby was very cute, he cried incessantly, so the emperor once again summoned Bao Zheng to investigate if there was anything wrong with the young prince. When Bao Zheng first saw the prince, he noticed words written on the prince's pale white hand. Upon closer inspection, he saw the words, "Doing evil outweighs doing good." Bao Zheng was extremely shocked because those were the exact words he had written during his inspection tour. Bao Zheng quickly reached out to erase the words from the prince's hand, and the words instantly disappeared without a trace. Strangely, the 6 words on the prince's hand appeared to Bao Zheng, but to the emperor and others around, it looked like nothing more than a birthmark. The emperor saw Bao Zheng erasing the mark on the prince's hand and ordered him to stop. Bao Zheng immediately knelt down and explained the entire story to the emperor. The emperor did it hard to believe, so he ordered Bao Zheng to use the yin-yang pillow to travel to the underworld to investigate the truth. Using the yin-yang pillow, Bao Zheng descended into the underworld and uncovered the truth. It turned out that, in a previous life, a man had committed many evil deeds, creating sins and karmic obstacles. To atone for his sins, he was sentenced to endure 2 lifetimes of punishment. In the first life, he was crippled and lonely, and at the end of the second life, he was destined to die from a lightning strike. In both lives, he was born into poverty and suffering. However, to atone for his karma, he always did good for others without expecting anything in return. By repaying his karma and accumulating merit, upon his death, he was reincarnated as a prince, inheriting the blessings of the heavens. This is just one of the countless stories of reincarnation and karmic retribution. Let's step back from this story and explore its deeper meaning and what it signifies for our real lives. Buddhism speaks of the 6 realms of samsara: the realm of heaven, the realm of humans, the realm of asuras, the realm of hungry ghosts, the realm of animals, and the realm of hell. The Buddha collectively referred to all beings, with hell being the lowest and most painful realm, and heaven being the highest and most peaceful. Each being has its own youth and lifetime, so even the gods and humans are within the cycle of reincarnation. The only difference is that the beings of heaven are more intelligent than others. All beings continue to revolve within the 6 realms, subject to karma and retribution. If a person cannot cultivate themselves and uphold the path, their spirit will fall into the endless cycle of reincarnation, like a life filled with troubles. We are restless at birth, restless at death, and uncertain of where we go after we die. Therefore, the purpose of cultivation is to break free from the cycle of reincarnation, to release the turmoil within and the burden of life, and to attain freedom in both life and death. The root of reincarnation lies within us, and 2 forces drive us to escape from it: desire and perseverance. The Buddha taught that everyone has the capacity to save themselves, the ability to solve their own problems. This implies that every life has the potential for enlightenment. In reality, this potential for awareness is wisdom, not conventional wisdom, but rather an inner, boundless wisdom by which beings can transcend life and death. Now that we know the truth about life, where do we begin to cut off the 12 chains of karma? The answer is to start by eradicating ignorance. Extinguish ignorance at its roots, transforming it into light, into infinite illumination, into the wisdom of prajna, transcendent wisdom. Thus, the advice for all of us is to live kindly, do good deeds, help others, refrain from killing, meditate, and chant daily to soon be liberated from the cycle of reincarnation. One more point. Did you notice that both stories I mentioned above involve the symbol of a bridge? The bridge symbolizes the connection between the physical world and the spiritual world, the boundary between good and evil, and the threshold of failure and success. I hope that we can all stay firm on the path we have chosen, persist in living, working, and cultivating to cross the boundary of life and death, to break free from reincarnation, and to attain freedom.